Okay, can you hear me, guys? Okay, kulħadd qed jismani? Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being with us once again. Um, uh, After another week. Before we proceed, a short notice on behalf of Patrick Nella Spiteri. I want to thank those who attended the last photo shoot. It was about sports, if I'm not mistaken, and there was another good turnout. Obviously, there will be other shoots once they are advertised. I will let you know, and I will share them even on the Malta photography webinars group as well. There is going to be a workshop. It's still being worked out. I've also mentioned this in past webinars. It's going to be about boudoir, and but more details will be given in due course. Obviously, when this workshop is will be finalized. These shoots are being obviously organized with all COVID-19 restrictions, and all photographers will be asked to wear a mask throughout the whole shoot. Okay, so that's about Patrick Nella Spiteri. Today, we will be having our guest speaker, Mr. Earl Mallia, good friend of mine, with his presentation In Search of Wonders. For those who never met or haven't heard about Earl, which is difficult because the Earl today, I would say, is a household name in landscape and astrophotography. But I'm going to give a short bio on Earl. Earl is a landscape and astrophotographer based in Malta. Ever since he owned his first camera, photography has been a constant passion for him. The camera was the missing piece of the puzzle that truly changed his life and opened up his world. It all started back in 2015 when he owned his first camera. From that moment on, it was a turning point as he started experimenting with long exposure photography. Then, after a while, he focused more on shooting landscapes and seascapes while documenting and visualizing that moment in time where it brought him deeper into nature. Since he was a child, he was always fascinated by the wilderness and the stars above. The experience of discovering that bond out there under the stars in wild places, it's like there's something primal. Earl believes that part of it is hard to be explained, as there is something connected in all of us. And in that sense of mystery, it allows him to connect with it in some way through astrophotography. So that's a short bio regarding our guest speaker. A couple of things, as I usually do. Thank you to Stephen Bohajar for working out together putting up these webinars and discussing together, so that we bring you innovative webinars each week. Thank you also to Josef Mifsud, our technical guru, who is also streaming our webinars live. In fact, we are live on the MPS Facebook page as well. Thank you, the MPS Exco, for their ongoing support. They support these webinars throughout, and we must obviously thank the whole Exco. And also, last but not least, the Facebook groups for supporting us by promoting our webinars on their pages, namely by surname order Tony Azzoppardi from Fotografija Bejn il-ħbieb, Johan De Bono from All Photography, and Alexander Kutayar from Photography Shots. Thank you for helping us with promoting these webinars. I will now hand over the word to the president of the Malta Photographic Society, Mr. Stephen Bohajar, to share with us some news regarding the society. Stephen, over to you.
Thanks, Vince. Good evening, fellow members of the Malta Photographic Society. First of all, I would like to thank all the 12 photographers who kindly enough sent us an image for their photographic repertoire to evaluate and discuss during the second photo clinic held last week. From the feedback we received, there are areas where we need to improve and others which we need to sustain. We tried to involve as many of you as possible to make this session more interactive and to learn from each other. These sessions have to be a learning experience for all. While there is no right or wrong way to give critique, it is important to know that most people would like to receive feedback that they can take back home and add to their learning. These kinds of feedback, one way or the other, can help improve a photographer's shooting considerations. And if you are someone who loves giving constructive feedback, you are invited to share your views during these webinars. Giving critique is a skill in itself, and for the receiver, it is a part of the learning process. Since photo critique is a detailed assessment of someone's photograph, the key activity in critique is analysis. It does not consider whether feedback is negative or positive, but it is simply an analysis of what works and what doesn't. I wish that for the next photo clinic, which is planned to happen in the last Thursday of next month, we will have more participation and more participants to act as judges and give their analysis. The society is not a closed community, but we are open for new members, for new challenges, and for new ideas. Any one of you who is willing to come forward with suggestions and is ready to roll up the sleeves, I ask him or her to meet one of the members of the Exco and discuss his or her ideas. Reaching out to new young photographers with new ideas will help the society to become rejuvenated. Let us not stick to classical ideology, but look forward and adapt with the times. As Will stated, today we have with us Mr. Earl Mallia, who accepted our invitation to share with us his photographic skills, especially in landscape and astrophotography. Earl Mallia is working hard to keep evolving in this genre of photography, and I am sure that sooner or later he will make a name for himself locally and internationally. I thank Earl for accepting our invitation and the society. We promise you to give you, Earl, our full support as we want to do with all local photographers who intend to establish themselves in the art of photography. The floor is yours, Earl.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm going to open Earl's mic, in fact, but before Earl, you can open your mic, in fact, because I'm trying to open it from my side.
Unmute. All right.
Yes,
Everyone
that's
is
it.
hearing me? All right.
Yes, before, just I want to remind everyone that anyone who have any questions may write to me as usual on the chat, and I will coordinate with Earl accordingly. During the webinar, you might see a pop-up. That's a poll. Okay, we kindly ask you to participate so that we can create some form of discussion.
Please,
Okay, thank you. The floor is yours, Earl.
please ask questions. I'm very happy to answer your questions. So, I have to thank Vince and Stephen and all the MPS community for giving me this opportunity to show my work. Today, a part of my work, I'm going to share my experience and my journey to photography and some technical viewpoints too. So, as Vince said, I'm Earl Mallia, for those who know me. I'm a landscape and astrophotographer. I always was drawn to the vastness of landscapes and nature and adventure. So the camera actually was the missing piece from all the things. And actually, I was always drawn to the mystery itself. So actually, I started shooting astrophotography back in 2018. And actually, I bought a tracker, and that was mind blocking experience because I created something that I always wanted to photograph, basically. So basically, this is my equipment. I own three bodies of camera: a Canon 5D Mark III, an 80D, and a 550D, Astro modified. I will explain later what Astro modified it is. I recently been using. I had the opportunity to use a Tamron 17 to 35 f2.84. Uh, Frequently, I use the 70 to 100, the 300 millimeter for astrophotography, um, the 50 millimeter EF, the prime lens, the Nifty 50. It's very good actually for uh, astrophotography, wide field astrophotography. Um, the 24 millimeter Samyang, I suggest to everyone to buy it. It's a very cheap lens and it's actually very good. The 14 millimeter Samyang, and for my APS-C camera 11 to 16. I use the Benro filter system. I have a couple of filters that I use, but actually the most one that I use that I feel comfortable with it's the graduated soft 5-stop. As my photography, I feel my photography, I want to be more realistic to it. So oftenly, I don't use the 10-stop. Um, but not all the times. Uh, then I own two tripods, one carbon fiber and um, one aluminium. The aluminium I use it for astrophotography basically, and the carbon fiber I use it for landscape photography. I own a very exciting bag. Actually, I always wanted to find a bag that fits my gear and more stuff. I own the Tulopa f-stop. I suggest this to everyone because it's a very good actually bag that it carries not your only photographic gear, but your stuff for hiking, and it's like extremely useful. And I own a low pro tactic as well. I find it very good for my gear, but obviously the f-stop, I'll I love it more for my photography. Even if I go out and to for hiking or for a camping, I can put my rucksack in it. I can put everything else in it. So I own a trekking mount. Um, it's a Skywatcher Adventurer, and um, auto guider that I will explain what it does later. With my Astro modified camera, I I installed an LPS filter. It's actually for astronomy filter. It's on top of the sensor that later I will explain what it does. So these are my five key rules actually that they are my Bible. I strongly believe that planning and research is the most important before any shoot, as I believe that you need to understand your landscape, and that blends completely with composition. As in my experience, I can say that the composition it's make or break. Um, I believe strongly composition affects the whole image and generate an image and that takes a great composition. So for a great image, there's a great composition for sure because light and atmosphere. Because I use natural lighting and natural elements, I need to go shooting in certain time. I need to be more into weather conditions actually. So I can picture what I'm going to shoot, my vision, and I try to predict the elements around the scene. I think that the fourth one, perseverance, it fits perfectly with my five rule because sometimes one needs to persevere to shoot what actually wants. what you have in mind. And actually, as it you're dealing with natural elements, um, uh, outdoor photography, it's very difficult. You're not in control basically of nothing, and one needs to make his best to capture his vision. So perseverance actually falls into the rules. Um, and using the right equipment. I feel that when I started photography, as everyone, um, I started buying stuff that I don't need. Actually, um, I have to say that the equipment will achieve your vision. It's not everything. The equipment will not compensate for the four others above, but it will achieve your vision. Better you save and buy something that it will satisfy you longer than buy something that obviously I sold already, or eventually it's still sitting in a box. So I suggest to everyone that obviously save some more money and buy something that it will um, give you more satisfying. So I have some images from the Maltese Islands over here. Actually, this is um, a cave shot in the limits of Lapsi. Actually, this image, I don't usually do do this stuff. I will explain why, because this is a single shot. Normally, I don't edit single shots because all of the time, basically, I bracket my images. I feel more in control of the dynamic range. So when I compose my images, um, I'll bracket my images. So even I compose my foreground and let the light after the sun will lit up the foreground. So um, uh, I'll create actually the image by compositing it. Um, Obviously, I need more bracketing for dynamic range. So, who knows me? I love to um, put myself in the images because I feel that the image itself it interacts. Um, I feel that if I put the human element in the image, um, uh, I can relate to that image. So it feels more. I can be there in the image. I can relate to the vastness. Um, Actually, I really love to take part of the image and experience that moment. So the viewer it will interact with that image and put himself actually into that image that I took. So this is an example that I told you before. This is exposure blending. Actually, there's two image on the side, so you can see basically what I'm talking about. Basically, I exposed for the for the oh for on the sky, sorry, exposed on the sky, and then I overexposed a bit um, on the railing of the bridge, so I have more dynamic range to work with. Actually, it works for me, and I feel comfortable more working like that than um, in post processing. I process my images all in Lightroom and Photoshop. I use more, to tell the truth, Photoshop, so it is more easier for me to exposure blend, and I can dynamic range, I have more vast dynamic range to work with, so I can evolve, create a better image with with less noise, actually. This is an image of Firfla. Actually, I was I planned this image back back I think in 2019. Um, I had to wait and plan. Actually, to the sun comes next to Firfla. This was taken from Halfar actually. Um, for planning my shots, I use an application that is very good that I will suggest to everyone. It's PhotoPiz. I'm not doing marketing or stuff like that, but it, I feel comfortable using it. And it's not for just landscapes. It's give you directions where the Milky Way rise. It gives you direction where the moon rises. Actually, it's very um, uh, useful. I will answer this question. No. It's very useful application to work with. It's uh, when I plan my shots, all of the time I use this application. So I will just suggest to everyone to use it. As there's another application. It's photographer's emphasis, I think, something like that. It's works the same, but it's a matter of liking. So I believe that composition, in my journey to photography, composition, as I told you before, it's or make or break. So I believe that for a strong image, you need to actually have a strong composition. This everybody knows this. The Coral Lagoon. Actually, I always wanted to capture the Coral Lagoon, but I always find it frustrating actually because the whole image it's too much for me. Um, so I found the spot that's to be centered in the arch. I waited actually. I planned this shot in August and I took it in December because I left the sun to elongate as much as it can to the arch. Um, um, Basically, I wanted to align myself into the arch to make a symmetrical like composition over here. And I feel that I put myself in, it made more the image interesting. So these two shots were taken in Marsa Scala. Here you can see both of them about the composition on the left hand side. There's the railing over here. It's actually directing you to the salt pans and then going direct into the sunrise. As I told you before, I'll try to compose my images more less is more. So um, when I started photography, the problem is that I bought a wide angle lens, and obviously I wanted to capture everything. I wanted to put everything in my frame, and I always wonder how can I make a great image? Actually, if you put less in the image, you direct the viewer what you want to create, actually. And when I started doing that, my images improved a lot, actually. In fact, if you see the image on the right, you can see the reflection of the sun on the rocks, and actually they are like leading lines into actual the into the sunset. So you need to go shoot in a certain time, so in the golden hour, basically. But you need actually you need to search, you need to make research for the composition. As I told you, the composition, I believe that it's everything, um, uh, and that's a, a, a complete image. Um, uh, as I describing in this image, there's two images, one on the right and on the left, and I described actually the leading lines of the composition. Um,
Earl, sorry, Earl, to interrupt you. There's a question from Peter. He's asking, what does it involve, including yourself in a landscape picture?
all right. I include myself in a landscape picture as I feel it is more interesting. Uh, I don't put myself actually to put myself. It could be anyone else. But I believe I believe that when you put a human element, you are bringing the scale into the image. You're bringing more scale into the image. So I believe that
You want to comment, Peter?
Yes, please.
Yes, yes.
My question wasn't why you include yourself, because
all right.
you, in your orange top, make an excellent photograph. But what does it involve when your camera is
All right. All
possibly
right. I understand. I understand.
so far away? Do you
Yeah.
leave it
Yeah.
on? Do you leave it on the tripod and walk away, or do you have an
Actually,
assistant?
actually, when I travel, I have an assistant.
Oh, I see.
But a friend of mine, or actually, I take pictures of others.
Yeah,
But
fair enough.
but when I go to shoot Malta, basically all of the time I go alone. So I leave my camera on a tripod, continuous shooting, and I'll try such many positions. So I'll see what it fits the best, you know. So that's the technique basically. Or
What I meant is, considering the distance between your camera
yes,
and
yes.
where you're going to stand is
Ba-
a fair amount.
Basically, yes. I leave the camera continuous shooting. Obviously, I shoot 50 or more, um, uh, and then I choose after what it fits. Actually,
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
welcome, welcome. Um, uh, as as I was saying here, there's two compositions, different compositions, and actually in this image here over here, there's the pointing. So this is basically the main subject over here, and these are pointing to it. And because it's symmetrical, I believe it's more pleasing. So the rock in the middle, it will direct you then into the sky, into the sunset. The other image from the right, um, so actually that patch of flowers was very small because I shot it with 70 millimeter. Basically everything small become big with distortion, right? Um, um, I shot that alone, and then I composed, obviously in the same angle. I composed the arch. Actually, what I did, because at 17 millimeter the arch was smaller, uh, I focused at uh, 30 millimeter, I think, something like that, 28 or 30. So I'll make the main subject more intriguing, more direct, actually. Then I composed the two images together. I believe that if it was smaller, it will be more, you don't know where to look at actually, because the main subject was the arch. So sometimes I do that stuff to enlarge something that actually with 17 millimeter. That's why I believe that I I prefer the focal length 24 millimeter. That's, I think it's the perfect lens for landscape photography. I believe that even when I shoot wide field astrophotography, I use 24 millimeter. Actually, it's not the big and it's not small. It's the perfect focal length, I think, for me.
Earl, if I can ask you a question, I
Yes.
noticed that you've got in each image you've got perfect focusing all across. Do you get that in one shot using
No, no,
some or two
no.
shots?
No, this focus stacking. So if I mention the one on the left, obviously I had to focus stack on the foreground. Then I composed actually my images in three. Actually, first I take the sky actually, then I'll take over here, so it's the middle ground actually, and then I'll take the foreground. So then in Photoshop, I make focus stacking actually. So I have, but the images I um, I compose them for obviously reasons to get focus. Even obviously the one on the right, I had to focus. Actually, that was, as I told you, a small patch, and it's uh, it's it's impossible to focus on both with the same focus. So this is actually a shot from Carraba. Uh, the actually I shot an image before that. In January, I had really great skies actually, um, um, and I was going home and I found these pebbles that really intrigued me, and uh, the sky was actually very nice, still very nice, and I think this composition fits as I saw as there's the composition frame on the right. It the pebbles directs you in the middle of the image, um, as you see. So the image on the right is the image that
Um,
I sorry.
Sorry, Earl. We've got another question from Anthony Schwierer. He's
Yes.
asking the pink blue sky by filters. He's asking. Obviously, I told him that because we've discussed this in our pre-webinar. I told him
Exactly.
that you use a technique in post-production using luminosity masks and selective color. But if you want
Exactly.
to add something,
It's to tell you the truth, it's complicated to explain in in a certain way. But the pink blue sky, I achieved that, and obviously I use a lot of luminosity masks, so I select just that particular color, and I use a lot the HSL sliders and actually the selective color. Obviously, I do a mask on the sky, and I just play around and do some curves to achieve that tone. But I suggest to everyone to uh, try luminosity mask. It is very game changing, I have to say. So again, two images. If you're seeing landscape shots, um, I prefer to take them not horizontal, vertically. I have a lot of images vertically, and you have to say why, maybe. I don't know. Vertical for me, it fits more because I'm bringing less into the frame. So, uh, as I told before, composition, less is more. So, actually, vertical, it gives me advantage to make less in my image and focus on the subject. So actually, the one on the right, as you see, I found this plant and I found this composition, and I actually these grass over here, I feel that made a directional point. I feel that obviously it will direct you to the Caraba Peninsula. The one on the right, um, uh, because the subject it is very strong, um, it, the foreground doesn't bother me that much. It's a bit confused, I have to say, but my eyes they are drawn to the boulder, so um, uh, it doesn't bother me that much. Obviously, the the holes are going to the actual boulder, but I preferred uh, to take something different. Actually, I like this image because the main subject it's very strong in the image. So this is one of my favorite shots, basically because it's sentimental, I think. um, uh, and it's sentimental, let's say sentimental, because actually I've been going there, I think, with a friend of mine. I think we went about 7 times, but we never succeed to take an image. Um, at this particular day, actually, we weren't going to, sorry, to shoot as it was clear skies, but an actual patch of high clouds came on top of us, and we had a great day. We were very satisfied, actually. Obviously, because the path to it collapsed, it became more like a sentimental image or whatever you can say. So it's like, are you going for this composition with a boat? You can't go anymore by foot, you know. Uh, so again, this is the Marks and Dukes window, and here I'm compositing myself actually in the image um, to see the grandiosity of nature. Um, uh, I love make that sense of scale in the image, so one can relate to the vastness of nature here. And obviously there's the leading line going to the cloud or to the arch over here. So this is Lipia Tower. Um, uh, Actually, I was not going to shoot it, but the light was really at that time um, uh, coming from the side of the. As actually, I wanted to shoot the Caraba Peninsula, but the clouds were really low, and if you know the Carabas slopes, clay slopes, you need a very good sky to blend it with it. So and actually I was going home and I saw this patch of high clouds on top the Pia Tower, and actually the light was coming from the side, so I illuminated the passage over here. Um, uh, and I felt very, very even here, obviously here, you can see the rocks, they are illuminated, and even the reeds over here illuminated, because the sun was still setting. So the one on the right, on the left, sorry, it's a basic composition. To tell the truth, um, I I had some shots of Blue Grotto, but I never felt that they were up to the standard. So I went more and more. Obviously, it's an easy composition, so it doesn't take long to compose, and I think I took a decent photo. That was in January actually. Um, I cannot believe January was actually very nice. I never experienced in my photography career that much wonderful skies. Actually, January, and the other one it's from Monshar. It's back in 2018. Um, uh, Again, I visit my locations a lot of time. Um, uh, I think I feel that I created an actual bond with them. um, I sometimes I love to go again and I'll try something different. For example, this is a shot from the Roman Butts. Everybody knows the Roman Butts. This is shot with the Samyang 40 millimeter. You can see the distortion on the streaks underneath the water streaks because obviously it makes a really the distortion of the streaks and what it draws to this image. I feel in the center there's a lot of movement. The movement, I feel that I was drawn to it, to the image, and obviously again it it will move and direct it to the sunrise. But actually, the movement made the image. I feel in this particular image. So again, this is Valletta. Actually, I was a whole night shooting thunderstorms. Um, and I stayed for sunrise. And actually, I really was rewarded with a beautiful sunrise as the storm was passing by. This is another image that I took in January, basically. You can see over here the composition. Um, um, it is symmetrical. I love symmetrical lines. So actually, I'll try to find in my composition symmetrical lines. And I feel that every time I go shoot, um, I feel the whole experience. It's obviously it's the most important. When you take a photo, it's a plus bonus for me. Even if I go scouting or the whole experience, it makes it more wonderful. You can see over here there's these stepped rocks, these stepped floors that it will draws you to the human element over here. So as a landscape photographer, I love the sense of adventure. So it always intrigued me, and I love that sense that I'll go for to discover something. Uh, in Malta today, there's not a lot to discover, but I believe that there are certain places that are untouched, and I love that sense that of mystery itself. And I believe that humans are in need to discover, and I feel that these are
Hi, Earl. I think
I
we lost this. We lost the sound there. All right now?
Hi, all right?
Okay, okay. All right, Earl.
All right, all right, all right, all right. These are not my particular images, let's say, as my photos are more realistic. I'll try to keep them as much as I can how I saw them actually, but sometimes I feel inspired to take something different actually. Um, these are these are shot with the ND 1000, right? That leather actually it's in Munshar. I always was passing by and I said sometime it was actually in the front. Um, and I always pass by and say to myself, like, someday I will shoot this with a long exposure. And actually, it's a nice image. I really love actually seeing other people, other photographers work with long exposure. I believe that it's art, pure art, as especially in black and white, especially in black and white. I feel it's a totally fine art piece of work. Um, but sometimes I experiment with these things. Actually, the one on the left, I was passing by. I was trekking actually in in Randy, and I saw this rock with the fishnet, and I imagined that it's a it's a mountain, like with the fog. The sea was rushing to it, so I thought to myself, I will create some fog with it, so it will create a peak of a mountain. So travel photography, Iceland and Austria. Um, uh, so now I know why a lot of photographers go to Iceland not once, not twice, but a lot of more. I believe that Iceland actually it's a playground for photography. Actually, it's it's unbelievable the raw nature over there. It's it's unbelievable true. The untouched nature, uh, incredible. And actually, it's the most beautiful country I ever visited. Actually, I was going last year again, but COVID, you know, you cannot travel. I was planning to go this year, but I think that this year is going to be the same as last year. And I hope that next year I'll be there. Actually, this this image is Solomohor. I cannot pronounce it. Sorry, it's very difficult. Um, uh, Actually, I wanted to create a story with it. This is a friend of mine. Actually, we went together. Um, uh, I believe this wreckage it's very powerful, very powerful subject, and I wanted to create a human element with it. So I create an actual crash site, let's say in a stormy weather. Um, um, I think that it fits. Actually, when I went to Iceland, um, um, I had this thing in my mind that I wanted to create this grandiosity, nature versus human um, uh, human element. So because it is so complex, the place it's actually I never been in a place that it is mind blowing. I suggest to everyone to go to Iceland. So um, actually, this is a volcano. It was a volcano, and it depleted itself by time, and obviously with rainwater and stuff like it. It was filled with uh, with water. Actually, this is one of the most powerful um, waterfalls in Europe. Um, you can see one can see the rushing water, the powerful, the the, the grandiosity of this waterfall. It is amazing to witness. Actually, I was going to shoot another composition with it, but actually I didn't because eventually Iceland, who didn't went to Iceland, there's a lot of tourists always on your spot. So sometimes what I did in Iceland, it's I made the all the ring road. So uh, so I had limited time, and I suggest to anyone who goes to Iceland that it is better. I think next time I'll do from west to south. Actually, as it's the most um, locations, best locations are in those areas. The north is beautiful. It's more remote. It's more uh, it's more vast. It's more untouched. But there's a more drive to it. So um, again, this the image from the left is Blue Waterfalls, one of the bluest waterfalls I ever witnessed. Actually, Icelandic people say that too. And actually, this human element over here, it makes the whole image because obviously this is a spot that um, a lot of people take this image. So it's not a unique image, not a unique composition, but I wanted to get the human element over there, so it makes more sense to be more a little bit unique. The other image over there, it's from a cave. It's a very beautiful cave in Selfos, I think. Yeah, it's in south part of Snape's Nest. Sorry, Snape's Nest. And it is a cave that obviously opens into this waterfall. Actually, this is Oxaraphos, and it is this waterfall. It is it's in a park, national park. It's called Pingvellir, and actually Iceland. It's a place where actually Earth comes alive. Actually, if you see the image, the map on the left hand side, um, you can see the red lines where the tectonic plates actually um, uh, pass by. Actually, this image is a very famous waterfall. It's in the west part of Iceland. Um, a lot of tourists, obviously, but you can see even I wanted to capture that the sense of leading line of the waterfall coming to the other side. So it will direct you to the angle. Um, uh, the famous Black Sand Beach. Um, uh, Actually, this image, I was I was pretty lucky actually. as the next image that I took, I was almost underwater, as you see in the image on the left. um, uh, if one goes to Iceland, it needs to be a little bit careful, as the Black Sand Beach, it's very dangerous about for its waves. But I think this image worked well. Um, uh, Obviously, I had to position the human element on the rule of thirds, and there was actual a cave, but it fell that I couldn't bring in the frame. Um, uh, these are actually the rocks on the left hand side. They are those are volcanic rocks. They're called Ballstatt rocks. Actually, the steps. I left the steps over there because I really felt that um, um, they are directing a leading line to the human element. So this is um, even the experience talking about it's amazing. Eventually, this is a place called Krafla. It's a volcanic criteria. Um, um, this is where Earth really comes alive. Actually, you can see geysers. Iceland, it's one of the most beautiful countries because you can see a lot of things in one whole country, basically. You can see volcanoes, you can see Black Sand Beach, glaciers, um, uh, and actually here where where the tectonic plates pass. So the activity uh, in Krafla it is very strong. As you can see, there's geysers, the mud bubbles, a lot of heat, and obviously I wanted to capture the human element with the composition that I took, because the geyser it's in the rule of thirds, and the directional points goes all to the human element. So this is a famous image from Kirkefell. Again, I wanted to interpret in this image how the humans we are small compared to the whole vastness. Actually, I positioned the um, uh, the human element in the middle, so everything goes directional to the point of the mountain, and it creates this triangular point. So another image from Landingranar, that's part south, west part of Iceland. It's again another volcanic part of Iceland. These pinnacle points are Ballstatt rocks, basically, and the, the the sea was rushing rough that we experienced that the water became foam. It was a mind-blowing experience. I never saw something like that. We were in a cliff actually that was we were high, but the sea made this foam that floats in the air. So it's an amazing experience actually, and obviously there's this point directing to the pinnacle points. Obviously, if you go to Iceland, you cannot um, uh, see the aurora. It's a beautiful experience, and the glaciers that you can find in Jökulsson and in Fjarðarskon. Um, it's an amazing experience to experience. Even this we were very fortunate to experience a KP4, sorry, a KP3 aurora. So unfortunately, when I left Iceland, it was KP5. So for next time. So this is Fjarluskon Glacier Lagoon. It's connected to another lagoon. It's connected with Jalkulsson. It's from another bigger lagoon. This particular glacier, the actual icebergs, small icebergs, will drawn to the Diamond Beach. So they form then over there these crystal clear small icebergs. And this is one of my last shots from Iceland. It is the arch of Helnar. It is very famous in Iceland. And it's in the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, where there's Kirkefell and there's a lot of attractions, very nice attractions. It's Snæfellsnes Peninsula. It's a very interesting place to visit. Actually, there's a lot of attractions, as I said, and obviously I had to shoot this because it's like a dinosaur or something. I actually picture it as it's a very interesting piece of natural art, actually. So Austria, again, these are were taken in 2018. Actually, they were in my honeymoon. I get married in December, and actually, my wife told me you get married to the camera, actually, because but you know, photographer, it's it's a photographer mind. You can see here actually these leading lines going through the mountains. And these eyes, obviously, it's a good directional point to get to the mountain itself. So this is a shot from Hallstatt. Hallstatt, it's a beautiful place in actually in Austria, in the middle of a lake. Actually, it's an iconic shot because it's a typical place where to shoot this image. But I experienced a bit of severe weather over there. Another cityscape, it's from Salzburg city. I had to actually search for this viewpoint, as I always wanted to take a picture of Salzburg city from this viewpoint. So research is more needed, obviously, when you travel, because obviously it needs to be more. There's more input to it. There's actually I was on a mountain. It's called Norkdet. It was on sunset, and I saw these peaks glowing actually, and actually it was inspiring to take an image because I saw these peaks glowing and these clouds, pink clouds, all over the top. That makes the whole image more serene. I feel. Obviously, this was I was descending the mountain. So this is a panorama of Salzburg too, but obviously not from that viewpoint. There's the Hohensberg Castle from on the right-hand side. Um, and I think it was for vertical panorama. Uh, I think it was a four vertical panorama. These at night actually there was a little bit of fog on the top you can see of the mountains, and actually the panorama I had to blend some of the sky as I took some parts. I took some parts that were not actually sharp with the mountains actually, and then obviously I had to take the mountains alone to composite that with the whole image. So there's forces of nature. I love shooting um, thunderstorms. I'm not actually a storm chaser. I have friends that are storm chasers, and they are amazing actually. But I love the adrenaline actually that gives uh, a storm, or actually the thunderbolts. This is an image that was passing by. The storm was passing by China, and obviously I was shooting a lot of frames. Basically, I shot this frame from the other one, um, uh, and I use a technique. There's two techniques actually that you can shoot thunderstorms. The one that I use to capture this image is on bulb mode. I feel that I get more control to it. Um, so what I did basically, I bump up the ISO at 800, and I shoot at f8. Actually, I wait. Actually, I press the shutter release on obviously an intervalometer, and if they are frequent, um, uh, you have to monitor what you're taking. But if they're frequent, actually, I do continuous shooting with 20 seconds. But if they're not frequent that much, I use the bulb mode. Um, Actually, if they are frequent, um, um, still I use the same ISO at f8. So in fact, at f8 the thunderbolts they are very sharp, and I love uh, that sense. So it is actually taken with a 70 millimeter. I For this job I like 70 millimeter because there's not a lot. The subject it's direct. If you're shooting with a 24 millimeter, I feel that it is more spaced. You'll have more breathing space, and you need to crop. And the subject is the storm itself, or the thunders actually. Again, this is actually a two image composed, to tell the truth. But you can see the stars above. I love this image. Actually, you can see the whole storm in one picture. These are two pictures blended, um, two after each other. So um, uh, I took two frames and I captured um, half of them, I think, and on the other one, half of the thunderbolts, and I composed them in one image. I love this image, as I told you, I love this image as particularly you can see the whole cloud with storm and the stars above. This I use the same technique as I told you with bulb. I shot it in on bulb image, how on bulb setting. Uh, these are two recent. The one on the left, actually, it is back in 2017 when I used to have the 70 Mark One. Actually, it, I I remember this image because um, actually I was shooting the thunderstorms and actually it corroded the PCB. So the motherboard corroded. I don't know, um, uh, and unfortunately I bought. Fortunately, I think I bought my 80D. This is an image of a strike two that it was taken in 2000, 2000, I think. Yeah, in September 2000. So now we'll cover some moonscapes, celestial events, starscapes, and starters. And I have a section for wide field astro landscape and deep sky photography. So as we were saying, planning it's most important thing, and for these shots, I think it's actually it's very important because to bring something aligned with the structure that it's natural, it's um, it's it's very difficult. Let's say you need to know actually where you're shooting, and actually I search a lot with photo pills. These are super moons, by the way. This one. It's in August. The one on the left hand side in August, and the one on the right. It's in January. It's called Wolf Moon. They are both super moon. One is actually the one on the left was taken with 300 millimeter, and the one on the left right hand side was taken with a 200 millimeter.
Earl, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
To get this particular type of photo, so it's really placed on top of that, structure in Dingley. Do you obviously you plan this that the moon is placed is going to be a full moon and
Yes,
it's
of
going
course.
to be placed on that location, right?
Exactly, exactly.
And
These are
and and
these are
in that particular time in August, it would be the same each year, or
no,
that
no,
would
no,
vary.
no. It will vary. It will vary. So, if, for example, in August we have another super moon or a full moon, um, and actually in 2000 I took it in the same place, it will vary not with a small distance, it will vary with a big distance. So
Okay.
these actually these are not composite. These are images taken. So I didn't. So to make it clear, I didn't shoot the moon and place it on the top of
So,
the dome. So
so Earl, how would you know or how would you learn that the moon is going to be placed over there? For
so
example, if one wants to shoot this type of image in one shot, not a composite, we're saying,
exactly.
for example, how would one get to know when the moon will be placed in that location?
Actually, Photopills does that, and that's why I really love Photopills. It gives you directional lines where the moon will rise and will set. So one eventually will have an idea um, uh, where the moon is going to be placed. Actually, obviously, these I have to say again, these are not composites, but they are bracketed, obviously, because when the moon will rise, dark obviously falls more, and I needed to illuminate the dome, and obviously, so I needed to bracket more. So, but actually, it was on the top of the dome, and eventually, and the other obviously was there. Um, uh, Photopills does a very good job. If I will suggest to everyone, it's at an euro fee, I think for one time, that it is, for me, it's beneficial.
I see. You use the stacking, in this case, you use the two composites from bracketing to post-process the light, just to post-process the light.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is another super moon, actually, in March, as I wanted to place the moon on the lantern. Um, I was very lucky in this shot, as actually it was filled with clouds, but we had a small window that the moon appeared. So I had to move everything quickly to take this shot, and it's I'm really happy with this image, as it is aligned perfectly with the lantern. Again, with the same technique as the others before. So this is a lunar eclipse back in 2018. I really love this image because it will gives you a transition of the lunar eclipse. So a brief um, uh, I will explain it brief. Um, the lunar eclipse, actually, there's umbra and penumbra. I'm not going to get in detail in this, but the umbra, it's the part that we don't see, actually. And in a full lunar eclipse, the transition, it's very quickly. So you can see over here, you have to expose two images to get this type of photo. Obviously, the first photo of the moon on the left-hand side, it's shot with ISO 100 and shutter 100 at f8. Then to bring the umbra of the moon that actually will lit red, I needed to bump up the ISO to, if I don't get mistaken, at I think 800. Obviously, the shutter I needed to lower it down actually for 50. So I'll take more light, and I had obviously the f-stop. I have to make it more higher. I think I shot it at f4, the last one. So there is a good transition of the lunar eclipse. In fact, over here, if you see this image, you can see a bit of blown highlights because I was exposing to this side, actually. So this is a sequence of the total lunar eclipse from start to beginning. The one on the left, and the other one, it's a sequence too, but it was a partial lunar eclipse back in 2017. If you see here, the one on the left, you can see the moon. Actually, I was exposing for this side, then I switched for composing the other side. In fact, you can see over here, there's some blown highlights. So I'll take actually the other part of the moon that eventually I wanted to be captured over here. As this was the highlight of, obviously, because it's a full lunar eclipse. The other side, actually, it's a different story. I exposed it all with 100 ISO exactly, and f8. By the way, the two images are a composite images because I have to say, it's impossible to get this light when the moon was over here. So what I did is I I made a composite of the sky, an actual image that I was there, obviously, but I composited the moons over the whole image. And actually, it's the same what I did in the image on the right. This is a project that I did. Um, uh, I think it was back in 2018. These are the moon phases all in 1 month. So what I had to do is every actually 3 days, I had to take an image of the moon. So I'll get the whole sequence of the moon actually on one frame. This is again an HDR, the one on the right, an HDR composite of the moon. Actually, you can see the face of the moon lit, the one half of it, and the other. Obviously, I had to expose um, for the dark side of the moon. These are actually three images composited in one. Um, at the other side of the on the left, there is this is a celestial event. Actually, was taking part a rare cosmic event. Um, as I'm depicting over here, this is back in December. Uh, the conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. Here you can see this is again a frame, normal frame, and this is composite, obviously shot with a 300 millimeter. You can see over here the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. They are really rare. This event that they are that close to each other like this. So I had to shoot it. So another two images, starscapes, shot from the same location. Actually, the one on the left, on the right, sorry. I really love this image, as I feel this image, the person over there feels serene with the nightscape. It feels like a mermaid to me, actually. It's staring to something. It, it feels um, weird itself, but it's a serene mood. Over here on the other image, as you can see, the sea over there, it's very shallow. So I I wanted to walk on the pebbles to take a shot of myself with the torch. Makes it a bit interesting, a nightscape. So this is a star trade with a composite of mine. Obviously, this is a 3-hour image. And after 3 hours, obviously, I didn't stay the 3 hours over there. I composite myself in this cave. Another star trade. It's interesting. Star trades I love to shoot on the north side. As obviously there's the round part, and it makes it more appealing, the image. There's another on the left, on the right hand side, an image. It's interesting because it feels like I'm discovering something with that image. And obviously, everyone has, I think, an image of asbestos, as it was something incredible. It was actually the wreck, as everybody knows, on the St. Paul's Day. So it's actually this image. Again, I put myself in it. It made the image more interesting, I feel, from the common ones that I saw. And at night, it's more bizarre like. So, wide field astrophotography and deep sky astrophotography. So, there's two setups over here. Actually, the one on the left-hand side is the setup that I shoot for Milky Way shots, astro landscape shots. And the one on the right-hand side is the setup for astrophotography image. So, what is the advantages of owning a star tracker? I think is who wants to shoot or wide field or astrophotography, he needs a star tracker. I feel that a star tracker opened another door for me. So I I I I couldn't make the images, shoot the images that I shoot today without a star tracker. Actually, there's a lot of star trackers in the market. I preferred this one eventually because I always wanted to go further. This is a Skywatcher Star Adventurer, and it has a payload of 5 kilos. Actually, you can mount a small telescope to it. The beneficiary, obviously, of a star tracker that you can stop down the f-stop for sharper images, and obviously expose for more minutes. Actually, I take my astro shots normally with a 24 millimeter or let's say 50 millimeter for about 4 minutes. So it's easy to do that with a star tracker, and obviously the results they're much more they're more detailed, they're more noiseless free. So basically, for my astro images, deep sky photography, I use a 300 millimeter f4 prime lens, a La Creta auto guiding system. What it does, the auto guiding system, is when you shoot actually in such focal lengths as 300 or above, the star tracker it will be, because it's mechanical, has some defaults, small defaults when it tracks. So what it does, the auto guider, it gives pulses to the tracker to correct those defects. Obviously, on a 24 or 50 millimeter, you don't see these defects, as obviously when you get focal lengths longer, everything small becomes big, eventually defects. So the auto guider is a beneficiary for deep sky astrophotography. I have 550D Astro modified. So eventually the astro modification is every stock camera can be modified, by the way, so I have to say that. But every camera has a particular filter that is on top of the sensor that is called an IR cut filter. So the IR cut filter is there for a purpose to correct the spectrum of the image. Basically, we don't want that in astrophotography, and why is because we want to let all light of emissions into the camera. Eventually, we remove the air cut filter, so a certain wavelength of light comes through more um, uh, than others. It's called hydrogen alpha, that it's found in nebulosity in the whole galaxy basically. So we remove that, and so the camera will be more prone to that wavelength. I replaced the IR cut filter with an LPS filter that corrects a bit of the balance, the white balance, and it removes all light pollution because it's a dedicated astronomy filter, and leaves certain wavelengths to pass through only. So, and obviously the hand controller of the Lacreta, it controls the auto guider to see the corrections and stuff like that. So these are images of mine when I didn't have a star tracker actually. There are These are beautiful images, but obviously um, uh, at that time I didn't know that I can. There is more potential in it. These are all stacked images, by the way, with dark frames. They are shot in 2018. I bought my Star Trek in 2018. I had a headache to use it, to tell the truth, at first. And I had some friends, astronomers friends, that they showed me how to use. And obviously, I searched and I made some research. Um, uh, but it makes a whole difference. I have a comparison that it will show you that. This is a panorama of Mallia caves. It's a 6 vertical panorama. This is stacked actually too. It was shot with a 24 millimeter at f1.4. It was a very good sky. In fact, you can see the dust lanes over here and this constellation Orpheus. But actually, because the North Star, it was, I because I have to say the Star Tracker, there's a certain ways to align it for shooting astrophotography or landscape shots. So it was above, so I couldn't track, so I had to stack these images. But actually, it turned out very nice. These are both two stacked images, one from Delamara and the other one, this one, my wife has really patience with me, so she had to dress again with the wedding dress and to take a shot of the Milky Way with it, with the chapel. So this is actually a comparison of these three images. One was taken with a 5D Mark III. The other was taken with my 550D. These are all one images. If you can see the first image on the right, on the left, you can see it is less noisy, obviously, but it is lacking of nebulosity, if you can see over here. In the middle image, because the camera it's modified, it's actually, you can see all the nebulosity over here. So it is actually a whole different story. And obviously, the first image on the left-hand side, it's you can see over here the ISO, it's 2200 at f2.8. So with a star tracker, I can achieve 4 minutes with 24 millimeter at ISO 200. So, and I stretch the time for 4 minutes. So one can see how much data gathering it will have when you obviously shoot with a star tracker. The final image is the one on the right, and obviously at that night I shot the foreground, and obviously I composed everything with the Milky Way. As obviously because the star tracker it will rotate, obviously I needed to compose the image of the foreground. Obviously, this is another shot. Actually, this was not with my Astro modified camera. You can see a whole difference. If I'll go back to to the image, you can see a whole bunch of difference actually on the nebulosity of the Milky Way. In fact, this is shot with my 80D on obviously a star tracker, and it was a panorama of the foreground. So I had to compose again the foreground with the sky. So these are again this one on the left hand side. It's with my Astro modified camera, and the other one it's without my Astro modified camera. So you can see even the nebulosity over here, the dust lanes and everything, how much data is there, and how and the nebulosity it's more effective. Actually, even the other one, but there's lacking into it, you know. So, and a camera which is modified, it's more beneficiary for these things. This is shot with my 80D. It's a shot of the Milky Way. You can see the raw file over there. Actually, it turned out pretty nice. But eventually, you can see on the left how much data gathering it's on the with a star tracker. So these are shots with 300 millimeter. These are all nebulosity with my modified camera and with calibrated frames. I'm not going to get into details. Calibrated frames. There's our four types of calibrated frames. There's the light, there's the bias, there's the flats, and there's the actual dark frames. These are all calibrated frames to make a complete image for noise-free image, for vignetting-free image, and from binding-free images. These, by the way, these are found all in the Milky Way. This is shot with my Canon 550D at ISO 100. So actually, this I didn't put my astronomy filter in it, so the camera sees all red, as you can see. But you can see how much data is there to achieve for the other one. So actually, from the other image, from the left hand side, you can see nothing. But when you process it, there's a lot of data occurring in that image. So these are images again. These are actually winter images. There's the Cygnus constellation, the Orion Nebula, and the Horsehead Nebula, which are found actually in the winter sky. Actually, the Horsehead and the Orion Nebula, they are found in the other part of the Milky Way. And here, there's a whole complex, actually, the one underneath over here, it's Orion, and the one on top of it, it's the Horsehead Nebula. Again, there's a lot of stars in it. This image, particularly because it's in the band of the Milky Way. So it makes a whole different story. If you shoot out of the Milky Way, you will have less stars. So this is a before and after of the image. You can see again how much these are single frames, by the way. The raw files are single frames. So actually, for the Horsehead Nebula, I had to expose 2 days in a row. I took actually for this image almost 200 images with 3 minutes at 300 millimeter, and obviously I had to combine them and align them in a particular software that is called night. I forgot it. Not because Windows it's a deep sky stacker, and Starry Sky Stacker for Mac, as I use Mac, and this software aligns for astrophotography. There's another software, it's called Starry Landscape Stacker, that it is used for landscape images with Milky Way, actually. The one on the left-hand side, the Orion Nebula, was taken with my 80D. Actually, I took 80 images to compose the final image. So this is magnificent. I'm going to explain this. This is Andromeda Galaxy. It's basically a galaxy like ours. It's like the Milky Way. It's a spiral galaxy. And eventually, it's far from our galaxy. It's 2.5 light years away. What I mean by that is the light comes through our Earth. How long it travels. So it's been long travel, 2.5 million years. So actually, I took this image. I took actually an old image. It's mind blowing when I understood that particularly, as in time actually maybe the galaxy it's exploded, and we're still actually seeing old light. So it's very mind blowing, and actually to see a galaxy like ours with the help of astrophotography, it's amazing, and that's why it's like the mystery itself. It draws me to go and shoot the night skies. Actually, an example of the raw file, was the raw file that I took from this image. So and these are found, obviously the one on the left hand side is the Pleiades star cluster. It's also called the Seven Sisters. It's a star cluster that is found in the Winter constellation, and on the right it's Comet Neowise. That it was a rare cosmic event that I really it was something special for us in back in summer, July 2020. I have some images where actually are found these nebulosity. These are obviously found in the Milky Way. and these are found in Bernard's Loop Orion constellation, the Horsehead Nebula and Orion Nebula. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I really love to share my work with you. I hope you enjoyed my images, my information, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Earl. It was really interesting, some very mind-blowing images, and it takes really technique to do this work. And I know from your excellent delivery that you do this with a real passion. And I was right in saying that you are a true professional in this type of photography. You take it really seriously, and you do it. I'm sure you do a lot of study behind your work.
Yeah,
So
it
it
needs a
was
lot of.
really good. In fact, you're having, I mean, a lot of praise in the chat. They're thanking you for this great presentation. If anyone would want to ask Earl anything, now is the opportunity so that I can open your mics and you can ask Earl um, uh, a question. I can start with a question, Earl.
Yes, of course.
The poll. I created a poll earlier, and I gave a choice of lenses. Um, uh, funnily enough, not funnily enough. I mean, I'm sure there is a reason why. The majority of those that responded the poll chose to use a zoom lens ranging from 12 to 14 to 24 to 35. That's the option that I've given in the poll. Um, none of the respondents chose the 14 millimeter or less. Actually, I shoot with a 14 millimeter. I know there is, and I'm taking quite um, uh, some pictures with a lens, the 14 Samyang, which I recently bought from a friend of mine. And I'm really happy with this lens. So I was a bit surprised that no one chose this lens. But what's your views about these types of lenses? For example, you said the 24 millimeter. I assume because of the distortions, because of having less corrections to do.
Uh,
What's your take on
so,
this?
basically, I prefer that focal length because it's more subjective, I think. Um, um, Basically, I use the 17 to 35. Um, uh, and actually, I have that one of those lenses, the 14 millimeter that you just said. They're excellent for their price. They're excellent, actually. Um, Actually, I love that lens. I think it's not in every photo. It fits that lens actually, because
Okay.
not it's about distortion, because distortion it's corrected. Basically, it's easy to correct nowadays. I think I nowadays I feel more to create something subjective. So I'll try to shoot more in focal lengths that are not that wide, maybe. Um,
Okay.
uh,
In
I
in my case, for example, I use it. I use this lens particularly, and it fits my bill perfectly for interior photography. But I've
that's
tried it.
perfect. That's perfect.
That's perfect, and I'm really
Yeah.
happy with it. But I tried it even for landscape, and I was really happy with the
Yeah,
results I
it's
got.
actually it's a very good cheap lens. Actually,
Yes, yes.
I
The
have
quality.
one. That's it's very and believe me, I have the 24 millimeter. I bought it for around I think 400 euros, maybe less. I don't know. And it's amazing. It is amazing. Not all of their lenses nowadays they improved a lot.
Yes.
As a friend of mine he has the 14 millimeter actually, and he used it. The new version, actually, he told me they improved a lot. I didn't test it. But the old lenses that they produced, the Samyang, the 14, the 24, and the 135 and the 85 especially, they are sharp, very good lenses.
They are very sharp, very sharp.
Yeah.
If I were to mention one disadvantage of the Samyang, the one that I have, it comes with a dome and the fix, and the
Exactly.
fixed, cover
Exactly.
and a cap.
Exactly.
But you cannot actually fit a filter. You can actually fit a filter, but
Uh,
you have to buy the 140, I think, which
uh,
is
uh,
really expensive
yeah,
because the 100 millimeters you cannot fit them.
exactly. This,
You'd get a vignette because I
uh,
tested it, and
and
you'd get a vignette.
and it's not worth for that price. So
No, no,
actually,
no, no.
uh,
You have to work without a filter, or else
exactly.
obviously purchase the other filters. But
Um,
they are very expensive, the other filters,
yes.
because I
So
checked on the 100. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the 140. I think they're very expensive,
what
with a
what
kit.
what what I didn't mention actually, when I shoot, like for example, that boulder that there's in the Lemara, there's a big structure. I prefer actually to not to use filters. That basically I use filters all the time. But when I have a structure intersecting with my filter, I hate that. So I prefer to bracket my images, um, as I feel that intersection, that it, that you have that the grad intersecting with the boulder, and I hate to correct that. Eventually, I prefer not to use any filters, or I use NND, a total ND filter that it's all ND filter, not a graduated.
Okay, very good. Anyone would wish to ask Earl a question, or have any other questions before I ask Earl to give us our conclusive comments? Um, uh, I don't think there are any questions that I can see in the chat. So, Earl, I give you some
Your last.
final comments so that you can promote. I know that you do courses, I know that you do workshops as we do with other guest speakers. This is your chance to give us some information regarding your workshops, regarding your photography, your works. And even I know that you also have prints for sale.
So thank you, Vince, again for this opportunity. Yes, I do sell prints. In the future, I'm going to do more workshops. Hopefully, COVID restrictions will be better, because at this time it's a bit difficult to make things, to get gatherings. But yes, stay tuned and on my website, and subscribe for future workshops, blogs, and I do product reviews. Um, Please, if you have any questions, please send me a message or contact me. I'll, I'm happy to help others. So please, thank you very much.
Thanks, Earl. Thanks a
Vince.
lot for your presentation. Many loads of participants were here today. A total of 48, with 42 watching it here, and 6 others who were watching it on MPS Facebook page, which was streamed live. I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We'll have another webinar next week, so we'll wait for you to join us today week, 6
Yes.
p.m.
Same time.
Same time,
A bit-
exactly.
A bit before for a bit of socializing as well.
And as I said in the beginning, if you have any ideas, please come forward, speak to one of the Exco committee, and we are sure to listen and help out. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.